If you're drawn to restrained desire, quiet longing, and the kind of romance where the tension lives in what isn't done, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is the story of the man who never crossed a line until I asked him to. I noticed the rule before he ever says it. It's in the way he keeps his distance when he hands me things. The careful space he leaves between us on the couch. The way his hands always remain visible, open, relaxed, never reaching unless necessary. Ethan doesn't touch me. Not accidentally. Not casually. Not even when the opportunity is obvious. First, I assume it's disinterest. Then I realize it's restraint. He moves into the apartment across the hall after a quiet argument with his landlord that I overhear through thin walls. Boxes stacked neatly, movements efficient, expression controlled. White, early 30s, tall in a way that feels understated rather than imposing. We meet in the hallway 2 days later. Isai, Bulita. Neutral. Hey, he replies, voice low, calm. I met them. Claire. He nods, committing it to memory like names matter to him. They do. We become familiar slowly. Shared elevators. Occasional coffee runs. Late evenings when the building is too quiet and company feels safer than solitude. He never invades my space. Even when we sit together, there's a deliberate inch between us. An invisible boundary he refuses to cross. You're very careful, I tell him one night. He glances at me, unreadable. Careful is respectful. Sometimes careful is just scared. I counter. A corner of his mouth lifts. Sometimes. He doesn't explain further. Weeks pass. Ethan fixes the loose light in the stairwell without being asked. Brings my packages inside when he sees them sitting unattended. Walks me home when it's late. Always one step behind. Never touching. Not even when a drunk stranger bumps into me at a bar and Ethan steps between us like instinct. His hand stopping inches from my arm. You okay? He asks. Yes, I answer. His eyes search my face. Then he steps back immediately, distance restored. That night, I lie awake thinking about hands that never reach. I learn his habits before I learn his past. He wakes early, reads physical books instead of scrolling, drinks his coffee black, keeps his phone on silent unless he's expecting a call. He listens like every word matters. You don't interrupt, I tell him once. He shrugs. People interrupt when they're waiting to talk instead of listening. And you? I'm waiting to understand. That does something to me. The first time I test him, it's subtle. We're sitting on my couch, knees angled toward each other. I shift closer, close enough that our thighs brush. I don't move away. Neither does he. But he still doesn't touch me. His breathing changes, barely, but his hands stay folded loosely in his lap, knuckles relaxed. You could, I say quietly. I know. You don't want to? His gaze lifts to mine, steady and honest. I want to. Then why don't you? Because you didn't ask, he says. And I don't take what isn't offered. The air thickens between us. I pull back, heart pounding. He lets me. That's when I realize this isn't indifference. It's discipline. And somehow that makes the wanting worse. The tension grows in the smallest ways. In the way his eyes linger when I stretch. In the way his jaw tightens when someone flirts with me too boldly. In the way his voice softens when he says my name like he's holding something back. You don't flirt, I observe. I notice, he replies. That's not the same. No, he agrees. It's safer. For who? For both of us. One night the power goes out. The building plunges into darkness. City noise muffled by rain. I curse softly, fumbling for my phone. Ethan is already there, holding a flashlight. Are you all right? He asks. Yes. He doesn't step closer unless I move first. I do. The space between us closes, breath to breath. Still he doesn't touch me. You're really committed to this rule, I murmur. It's not a rule, he says. It's a choice. To what? To wait. The word settles deep. I start wondering what he's waiting for. Permission? Trust? Or the moment I break first? I find out a week later. We're sitting on my balcony. Rain cooling the air. City lights blurred beyond the railing. You ever get tired of holding yourself back? I ask. His answer comes quietly. Every day. That surprises me. Then why keep doing it? Because once I cross that line, he says, voice low, I don't step back. The admission sends a shiver through me. You think touching me would be that serious? Yes, he says simply. I swallow. The night everything changes doesn't start dramatically. No rain. No blackout. Just us. Quiet. Close. I'm sitting on the floor, leaning against the couch. Ethan sits beside me, shoulder close enough that warmth seeps through fabric. You're restless, he says. I am. Why? Because you're here, I admit. And you're not. He turns toward me, expression darkening. Not with anger, but with restraint stretched thin. I'm right here, he says. Not the way I want. The silence that follows is electric. Claire, he says carefully, if you ask. I am asking, I interrupt, voice barely steady. His breath stutters. You need to be sure, he says. Because I won't pretend it doesn't matter after. I meet his gaze, unwavering. I'm sure. Say it, he murmurs. Touch me. For the first time he hesitates. Not because he doesn't want to, because he does. Then his hand lifts, slow and deliberate, giving me every chance to stop him. I don't. His fingers brush my wrist first, light, grounding, reverent, like he's testing whether the moment will break. Doesn't. His touch spreads warmth, intention, something intimate without being explicit. When his thumb traces my pulse, my breath catches. You asked, he reminds me softly. Yes. And I'm choosing to answer. The touch doesn't escalate the way stories promise. It deepens. His hand moves to my waist, firm but respectful. His forehead rests against mine, breath warm, controlled. This isn't casual for me, he admits. Good, I whisper. It's not for me either. He exhales, relief and want tangled together. After that night, nothing is rushed. He touches me openly now, but always with awareness. Always with consent woven into every movement. The restraint doesn't disappear. It evolves. I didn't want to be another man who took, he says one evening. And now? I ask. Now I'm a man you chose, he replies. The difference matters. I don't know what the future looks like. I only know this. He waited. Not because he was afraid, but because he respected the weight of what touch can mean. And when I finally asked, he didn't hesitate. He answered. Exactly the way I needed him to. Exactly the way I needed him to. The days that follow don't feel dramatically different at first. There's no sudden shift into something loud or reckless. No urgency to redefine what we are. If anything, the quiet deepens. Ethan still gives me space. He just no longer pretends the space is empty. I notice it in the way his hand settles at the small of my back when we cross the street. Not guiding, not steering, just there. In the way he waits for me to fall asleep before turning off the light, like he needs to know I'm settled before the night ends. You don't have to stay up for me, I tell him once. I want to, he replies. It helps me sleep. I don't ask why. Some answers don't need to be spoken aloud to be understood. The restraint remains, but it's different now. Intentional rather than cautious. When he touches me, it's never rushed. Never careless. Every movement feels like a question he already knows the answer to, but asks anyway out of respect. You're very deliberate, I say one evening as we sit together. His thumb tracing slow patterns against my wrist. So are you, he replies. You just hide it better. Doi. Yes, he says quietly. You choose when things matter. Not everyone does. The words stay with me longer than I expect. I learn more about his past without him ever giving me a full story. A name slips once, spoken with distance rather than anger. Place he avoids driving through. A habit of checking locks twice even when nothing feels wrong. You don't trust easily, I say. No, he agrees. But when I do, it's not conditional. That feels heavier than a promise. One night we attend a small gathering together. Friends of mine, casual and unremarkable. Ethan stays close but not possessive, listening more than he speaks. When someone asks how long we've known each other, he glances at me before answering. Long enough, he says. Later on the walk home I tease him. That was vague. It was accurate, he replies. I laugh, then stop when I realize he's watching me. Not like he's memorizing my face, but like he's confirming something he already knows. What? I ask. You're more yourself around people, he says. That matters. To you. Yes, he says without hesitation. The first disagreement we have is quiet. I cancel plans last minute, overwhelmed and needing space. When I finally check my phone hours later, there's no barrage of messages. Just one. I'm here if you want me. No pressure. It shouldn't surprise me. Still it does. When I see him the next day, I brace myself for tension that never comes. You weren't upset? I ask. No, he replies. You needed space. You took it. Most people don't handle that well. I'm not most people, he says. Then softer. And I don't want to be someone you have to manage. That's when I understand something fundamental about him. He doesn't need reassurance. He values choice. Weeks pass. The apartment feels shared now in ways that don't require discussion. His book on my table. My sweater draped over his chair. A rhythm we fall into without noticing. One night, as we sit together in comfortable silence, I ask the question that's been waiting. Were you ever afraid I wouldn't ask? I say. He exhales slowly. Yes. And you stayed anyway? Yes. Why? He looks at me, gaze steady, unguarded. Because wanting something doesn't give me the right to take it, he says. And because waiting told me who you were. And what did you learn? That you don't give lightly, he replies. But when you do, it's real. My throat tightens. The intimacy deepens in ways that have nothing to do with touch. And shared glances. And quiet understanding. In the way he senses when I need closeness and when I need distance. And honors both without question. You're not afraid of being alone, he says one night. No, I admit. I'm afraid of being misunderstood. He nods. That makes sense. He doesn't promise to fix it. He just listens. The night I finally realize how deeply I trust him comes unexpectedly. I wake from a bad dream, heart racing, breath shallow. Before I can fully orient myself, Ethan is there, sitting up beside me. You're okay, he murmurs. You're here. I don't ask how he knew. I curl into him instinctively, and for the first time, he holds me without hesitation. Arms firm, grounding, unmistakably present. He doesn't say anything else. He doesn't need to. Later, as dawn filters in through the curtains, I trace slow lines along his arm, thinking. You know, I say softly. You never asked what I was afraid of. I didn't need to, he replies. You showed me. And that didn't scare you? No, he says. It told me when to be gentle. That's when I know this isn't about desire alone. It never was. I don't know how long this will last. I don't know what shape the future will take. But I know this. He waited when he could have pushed. Listened when he could have assumed. Stayed when he could have walked away. And when I finally invited him closer, he didn't rush. He didn't claim. He didn't take. He chose. Just like I did. And in that choice, quiet and deliberate, we found something neither of us was willing to touch. Until it was right.